Thanks for checking out my video. If you want to learn more from me, I have a lot of classes on Udemy. You can find the links to a lot of those in the description.
So this is another one that's inspired by a little jaunt that I had on Reddit. Because, I see so many different conversations on there about magic and other things, that have to do with spellcasting and whatnot, and, the philosophy of it and what lots of people think, and also what others might think if you start practicing magic, right? And, I did a video a while back on like dogma and other things like that, but sometimes topics bear repeating, even if they're in a different vein and they kind of go along the same lines, but they come at it from a different angle. And, because I saw this post on Reddit, I thought I'd just address it here. So, why is magic seen as sinful sometimes? Or why do we have people out there that think magic is the devil, Or like you could even bring this over to like manifestation and law of attraction and the secret and stuff like that. Well, this is all about personal power, okay? And even along with that, personal responsibility. See, if you grew up like I did, going to Catholic school and going to church and all that stuff, and even, mainstream religions, yada, yada, you might have this like internalized like phobia or guilt about going away from that kind of dogma and more towards a personal power dynamic. And even if you have other family members that might not believe in the same kinds of things that you do, you might even want to hide a part of yourself, like I did back in the day, about practicing magic or even believing in your own personal power. Because systems in society like you to appeal to those above you for things. And some examples of this are the church and the government, So like the government will protect you. Call 911, the cops will show up. That kind of thing. Or pray to insert God name here, and they can help you to get what you want. And a long time ago, I came up with this analogy that I've used in a lot of my videos, where you're a little kid in the kitchen and there's a cookie jar on the counter. You could say, "Hey, parent, can I have a cookie?" And then it's up to them to give you the cookie, whether or not they want to. That is prayer in a way. You're appealing to a higher power and basically asking permission for you to get what you want. Well, magic is you're a little kid in the kitchen and there's a cookie jar and you can't reach it. So you want to know what you do? You pull over a chair, you climb on the chair, you get on the counter, and you get to that jar and you get that cookie. Magic is about personal power, and and manifestation and law of attraction and all of those things are also about personal power. And it means that you can take your reality and your responsibility into your own hands and do the things that you want to do. And of course, this comes with a bunch of different caveats where we create all the good things that happen to us and all the bad things that happen to us. Random happenstance and disaster and catastrophic traumatizing things aside, we create the majority of different things that happen to us. Whether or not we're going to have a good day, whether or not we're going to drive to work and not get angry or honk at people that cut you off, whether or not your interactions with colleagues or customers or what have you are going to go in a good way, because we perceive and filter all these different things all day long based on how we already think about ourselves and how we perceive the world around us, and even our own opportunities that we can have. Like people that say they don't have time to do X, Y, and Z. You do have time. You have the same amount of time everybody else does, but whether or not you actually put, section off that time and do the things that you want to do and make a structure and therefore get to do the things that you want to do, that's up to you. Right? I used to think I didn't have time to do a bunch of different things because I was so wrapped up in work and chores and needing to rest and all this other stuff. And I've really transformed that so where I have lots of time to engage in a bunch of different things. Like when Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out, I was able to, no life that game for a good while. And the only thing I have left to do is beat the final boss and do a couple of side quests and stuff. I'm putting that off for a while because if you checked on like one of my previous videos, I really got back into guitar, and guess what? I made the time for it. And So anyway, getting a little bit off track here. But why is magic seen as sinful? Because it goes away from the idea that if you don't appeal to that higher power and look to that higher power in order to get those things manifested out of nowhere, because God can do whatever because he created the universe and yada, yada, yada. And if you pray to him, you might get in his good graces and he might cause different things to happen for you that you want. Well, why do I got to go to that guy when I can do it myself? Why do I have to go to, why would I want to go to H&R Block when I can do my own taxes? You know what I mean? So it's all about that personal power. But the idea is that anything that takes away from that appeal to a higher power is seen as sinful in this manner. That's why in the Bible they changed the phrasing from "thou shalt not suffer a thief to live" to "thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," back before the with the bubonic plague and then the witch trials and all that stuff. It was changed to serve that purpose. And if you talk to anybody who fully believes in Scripture, what it says in Scripture is, witches and those that appeal to different things and do spell work and magic are bad. Why? Because then they're not part of that clique that goes towards the dogma. They're not part of that clique that goes towards religion. They are outside of it and therefore uncontrollable by those systems in place to keep them controlled. It's like living off of the grid. You're basically, by taking power into your own hands, you are living off of the spiritual dogmatic grid. You are on your own, creating your own reality rather than waiting for someone else to do it for you. Now, you might be saying, well, if I'm working with the universe, isn't that the same thing as working with God? Well, it's kind of however you want to perceive it, because you can see yourself as an agent of the universe or a part of the universe, and therefore every interaction that you take in the universe to create something is like a team between you and the universe. Every intention that you set, every action that you take, every move that you make. I'll be watching you. Kidding. Throw a little humor in there. All of those different things work together to create something, or you can see yourself as separate and appealing to something higher than you. Like when you're a kid, you appeal to your parents because they are the authority figure. But when you grow up and you're an adult, now you can be a peer with your parent. You develop that adult friendship with your parent rather than that unhealthy, bossy dynamic that you can get into where parents are still telling you what to do and what have you. And I know I grew out of that stuff a long time ago, So taking your own personal authority and being an agent of change without having to appeal to something external from you is seen as sinful, because it doesn't follow the status quo. If we all come to understand that the same aspects that we can attribute to God, Allah, what have you, as being a creator, we do those things ourselves every single moment. When we create thoughts, we create actions, we create events, we create things. I can go and build something and, hey, I created it. I can go and cause an event to happen and, hey, I made that happen. Now, I can't control the weather, Jackie, that kind of stuff. There are certain things that are quote unquote outside of bounds, depending on what kind of magic you practice or if you do law of attraction or manifestation or what have you. Depending on your paradigm, those things can be outside of your pay grade or outside of your ballpark, or maybe they're not, because there's tons of studies on the power of prayer improving health. So who's to say that kind of thing can't do something like hold off a rainstorm, and even just creating the right kind of circumstances and events to get you the answers or get you that interview or get you that job or meet that right person. Those kinds of things are all based on intention and what we can do with it and the actions that we take to follow that up. So long story short, these things can be seen as sinful when they are not part of the status quo and when you are outside of the norm. But if you ask me, I think it's more fun to go and grab your own cookie rather than begging for someone else to get that cookie for you. And I don't care if they call it sinful, because I like cookies. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one. Drop some stuff in the comments. What do you think, or have you ever had that kind of, those thoughts holding you back when it comes to whether or not working with manifestation, law of attraction, magic, all that stuff, if that was ever kind of uncomfortable to you due to your past and your upbringing and, what your pre-programmed stuff was, and how did you break free from that? Or maybe even if you're still struggling with it. Good hunting.